Welcome to Dental All Stars. I'm Alex Nottingham, founder and CEO of All Star Dental Academy. And with me is Howard Farran. I don't know if he really needs introduction. He is a dentist, was a dentist, but more importantly, he's the founder, the creator of Dentaltown. Everybody knows Dentaltown. And we're so happy to have him on the show. And we're talking about artificial intelligence. There's a lot going on in artificial intelligence. The time of this recording, there's something that happened that we're going to kind of start our discussion with. The stock market's not acting favorably towards it at the moment. And here to help us unpack what is happening with this, as well as the future of artificial intelligence in general and dentistry, is Howard Farran. Thank you for being on the program.
Hey, it is an honor to be on your show. Technically, with us two bald beauties, is this technically pornography? Would this be called dental porno?
Only for the other bald people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is a Sputnik moment. I was born in 62, the year of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but 5 years before that, October 4, 1957, Russia launched a satellite, a little tin can, hardly did anything, but it scared the holy bejesus out of the United States, and they literally messed their pants. And that is the only reason we ended up standing on the moon. And when we got to the moon and looked around, and Russia wasn't on the moon and wasn't planning on coming to the moon, after 12 guys had walked around on it, they were done with the moon mission. And if you look at NASA's launches, 2 out of every 3 have been military launches, military satellites. Most of the stuff they launch, you don't even know about, things like that. And now here's the United States position. Started with Biden, and we'll see what Trump 2 does. Where Biden said, no, this AI is so important. We are not selling high technology. He even went to other countries and told them they couldn't sell their laser lithography technology, and told NVIDIA you couldn't sell your GPU chips to them.
That's right.
And a lot of big international companies lost billions and billions of dollars in sales because we were going to keep China. We always talk about free trade. But no, we're not taking their highway phones. We're not taking their electric vehicle cars, and they're not getting our GPU chips. And then China comes out and says, well, we took the old chips and
made it work.
It's kind of maybe the old chips like a Chevy. And
so Howard, let me back up, because you're on I got you started on a roll. Let's back up for the listeners so they understand, because I understand, and some of our dedicated researchers. So what's happening now at the time of this recording today, that NVIDIA, which is one of the largest chip manufacturers in the world, and it's also part of the S&P 500, which is one of the indexes that tells us how the economy, but that stock is down like 15-20%, and it's bringing the market down. Other semiconductor manufacturers are all up in arms and freaking out because China has an AI like ChatGPT app that they're saying is either using old chips or less expensive chips and is producing as good or better results than ChatGPT. And you're saying nonsense. It's kind of a farce. And I was talking to some financial advisors that we like, and that they were saying like, no, it's a bit of a scary situation. But you're comparing this to the same thing, the Sputnik, whatever, that it's still, even though it may not be true that it is better, it's still scaring the marketplace.
Well, I think it's actually much, much better because, OpenAI started as an open source platform. And then they decided, we're not going to do open. We're going to make it private and raise money. And Microsoft and Elon Musk wanted to sue them that they couldn't, blah, 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 and all this stuff like that. And China decided, oh, hell no, this is open source. So I'll give you an example. On my Dentaltown servers forever, we used Microsoft SQL Server. And we paid license fees. I don't know what it was. I think it was a lot of money. It was $7,000-8,000 a month. It was like $60,000-70,000 a year. And there came out to be an open source Microsoft SQL Server. And I think it's called Progress or something like that. And well, God, it's 10 times better because every programmer on earth who says, you know what, for my needs, I need it to do this, they just keep adding on all these functions. So basically what they did is they said, okay, we don't get these expensive GPU chips. And I'm sure they bought a lot of them on the black market. And some people say they had 50,000 GPU chips, whatever. But he said, but we got, if you take all these, think of it like an old Chevy. Well, it still gets you from point A to B. Now, a Ferrari would be a much better NVIDIA chip, but if you got a million Chevys all going down the road, they're going to do the same thing, and they're doing it. And they did that whole thing with only 200 employees and a few $1 million, and and now the open source is free. The language model using it is free. Like when we go crunch Dentaltown data in AI, mean, a small run will cost us $5,000-6,000, and now it's open source.
Wow.
You could tweak it for your own thing. So basically, this is an arms race, but instead of military, well, it is military implications, but it's AI, and that is so. So if you're an investor and you have all these reasons why everybody should be paying for these really expensive NVIDIA chips and building $1 billion centers, they're starting to think, well, man, you could just build one 10 times larger with chips that cost 1/100th the price and have the same thing. And then as far as the software, like a NVIDIA data center, that's a closed software. They program that thing from A to Z. It's an open and closed one-stop shop solution. Well, that's not open source. And, like your iPhone is a closed source.
Right.
You don't get to see what's going on there. But Google, Android is open source. Well, guess which one's bigger? Guess which one's has more people? Look at dental software. You can't do anything with Dentrix or EagleSoft or any of them, but Open Dental. What's the
You
name?
can.
Open Dental. And when I started learning about Open Dental because I'd go to these countries that spoke different languages. Start off just Montreal. I say, well, what French software do you use? And they go, oh, we just got a copy of Open Dental, and then we translate all the French, and we were using that. Then we had a couple hundred clients, and after 10 years, we kind of wanted an update, and we called Open Dental. And they looked at how many users we had, and they said, okay, for X dollars, we'll update the Open Dental. Same thing I saw in Vietnam and Cambodia and Myanmar and countries all around the world. Their only practice management was Open Dental, and the reason they liked it is because they could get one computer programmer to go in there and change all the language, and then if there was something about insurance that didn't apply to them, they don't have the insurance, they would just delete that section. When I check into the Marriott, they only have 9 questions, and since it's 9 questions, they do all 9, and you have to go in a flow. You can't do question 7 until you've done 6 and 5 and 4. When I bring in a Hertz rental car, he just walks out there, a little Palm Pilot, and just checks.
Done.
He just needs to know 3 or 4 things. And then you hire someone to be a dental receptionist, and she opens up Dentrix, and 40,000 buttons pop up, and it's just mind numbing, and she doesn't know what to. And then the 1 or 2 things that you really wanted her to do to get down, like how did she get here? Or referral dollars. I'm paying $300 a head for a new patient. Where did you come in from? And get some dialogue, or did they see it? And they forgot that deal. And you can't go into, if I could do anything with Open Dental, it would be to set up a bunch of little red squares where if you're never going to use that, you could just close them out. My fantasy to be like, if you were a big, all-star dental fan and the Academy had their Open Dental version. So you just click that, and whatever Alex is talking about, that's the only thing you're going to see on Open Dental. So the fact that this is open source, and it's gonna democratize AI, because now,
Interesting.
I got big money, and I have my own. I built the world's first dental chatbot. I started it a year ago, September 5th. And my son graduated with a degree in computer programming, and he's working with these other big companies. And after 2 or 3 projects in companies that were 10 times bigger than mine, I said, come on back to your dad's and help my software. It's old and everything. And I got the rudest awakening in my life. This has been this has been the most beautiful, amazing 18 months of my life, and it's been the worst. And basically what I learned is, you and me, Alex, are very lucky because you're a lawyer and I'm a dentist. And if you're a lawyer, a dentist, a carpenter, electrician, a plumber, you do it for 10 years. You increase your value. After 10 years of law and dentistry, we're better lawyers and dentists than when we started.
That's right.
Nobody knows us. But in electrical engineering and programming, it's the opposite. So let's say I went to college at Creighton in 1980. Let's say I went to college in 1980 and the vinyl records were starting to die because of
Right.
the new technology, the CD-ROM. And I graduated from college and I know the CD-ROM, and Alex is 20 years older and he's on this vinyl record and he's losing his job and his pension in the factories, and they're all crumbling down with that creative destructionism. And I'm the baller, and I'm like making six figures, and I'm all that in a bag of chips. And then about 10 years later, someone walks up to me and says, "Hey, Howie, the CD-ROM now is with the
Is
vinyl
gone.
records. Now it's all MP3 or it's streaming video. It's this and that." And what I did not realize what was going on with Dentaltown. I mean, we started that thing in 1999, 5 years before Facebook, and all my programmers still here. They're as old as I am, and they were all C++, SQL Server, and all that Fortran, Cobalt stuff like that. And my son came up here and he said, "Oh my God, Dad, this code."
Is dated.
It's he said he said it was so bad that even with the updates, they didn't even update the shit that was so old.
We could go, you're going on a whole topic about just how to stay with innovation and change. Like, uh, everything's changing so fast. And certainly, yes, as a dentist or lawyer, there's still laws that change, dentistry technology changes, but you have that basic fundamentals. You get better as long as you keep an open mind. But if you're an engineer or in computer software or all that, and you're not continuously on the up and up on what's happening, you're dated 6 months ago. So you have to continue to go. So with this kind of staying with this AI situation, what do you see? Because we have open source concepts before. I know we have open source OSs like Linux and Unix and so on, and Ubuntu and others. They have not taken off the way that Microsoft and others. And I believe even, I don't know about Google, but I think their Android, they have some of this stuff is open source, some of it isn't. It's the stuff that they want, right? And even with Apple, they have some open source projects. But the point is, monetization is always going to happen. This is my take on it. You're going to start open source with good intentions, but then you have to monetize it, or in some cases, they're going to weaponize it. Whether it's TikTok or others. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I like what you said. It is an arms race, both for intellectual capital, GPUs, whatever that might be. What do you think that? I mean, I looked at some of your podcasts. You have some great podcasts about investing. And like the S&P 500 is very heavily weighted in tech and AI, and so is the Nasdaq for sure. I mean, even more so. What's that like for investors? Their 401ks, they're putting in S&P and Nasdaq and so on. What's the future of that? Should people be concerned, or are these companies going to kind of rally back and find a way to make this go?
Well, two questions you've asked so far. Number one is back to the open source.
Yeah.
That you need to monetize stuff. Well, if you buy anything in the world for $1, about 55% of it went to the people. The owners, the employees,
Right.
the investor people, and less than half went to others. So with DeepSeek being open source, they're going to have literally 10 million Python programmers around the world building all their code.
Contributing.
So their innovation be skyrocket, and it's not so much that they get monetized and make money. It's that they're taking money from like Microsoft, who wanted to come up with SQL Server and then just milk it like a cow for the next 50 years. But as far as investing goes, when I was a freshman in college in 1980, and by no chance of my own, I went to Creighton because I was Catholic and they had a dental school. I'm from Kansas. They didn't have any dental schools. My two older sisters were nuns, and they're like, "Oh, Creighton's a Jesuit and they have a dental." So I went up there, and Warren Buffett comes over and
Oh,
lectures
wow. He's
at our
amazing.
freshman 101 business class. And
Yeah.
to be all honest and fair, I thought he was the dumbest son of a gun I'd ever met in my life. I kept asking him, "Well, will you talk about the Nifty 50? I mean, talk about Kodak and Polaroid and Xerox."
Yeah.
He's like, "Son, if I can't explain this on a 5x7 business card and what your business does and how it makes money, it's not in my circle of competence, and I have
I
no
like that.
interest in it." And it took me till about, I don't know when exactly. It was 2 or 3 years after graduation I realized, oh my God, that was the smartest guy in all of investing. But the thing is, when I was a freshman, the average company in the S&P 500 was 65 years old. Now I'm 62, and the average age of that company is 10. Another thing is, back then there were like 6,000 of them, and now it's under 3,000 because private equity. And BlackRock's controlling $3 trillion, and we don't even get to see what their daily what they're doing. So the market's gotten very, very, it's cut down in half the size,
Consolidated.
and the other half is completely opaque. Look at the NFL. if it was my favorite team is the Green Bay Packers because that's owned by the city.
I
And if
love
it
it.
wasn't owned by the city, you would have no data on the NFL. You would know their annual sales, lawsuits. You would know nothing. Like how much do you know about so many of these private companies? You know nothing about them. You drive by them every day at work, and you have no idea who they are, what they do, and they do billions of dollars a year. So but I look at dentistry. I mean, it's going to be changed. I just give you examples here. Some of these are too personal. I can't believe I'm sharing them, but I'm kind of like that. But like, I had a 4-person accounting department. Now, add up all those wages. I hired one guy with an accounting degree who had a master's in accounting degree, who was a Python programmer, and he automated basically 3 out of 4 of those positions.
Hmm.
I'll go into a department and there'll be 2 people. And this one makes 50,000 and she's a proofreader, and this one makes 80,000 and she lays out this. So I'll take 50 and 80, I got 130. I'll hire a Python programmer for 115. He automates both of their jobs in like 3 months and then has 4 days a week to program on other projects. I mean, I started this project with 32 employees to put out Dentaltown website and magazine. I'm down to 22, and that includes 10 of them who are Python programmers. The oldest one is 25. They're
Wow.
all brand new, they're stressful. But I go into dental offices and I'll see like 4 people up front in a dental office. And she's doing insurance and she's verifying insurance, and this person's doing this or that. And it's like, okay, they both make 60,000 a year. That's 120. If
Yeah.
you consolidated those 2 people and got a Python programmer, all that
Well,
insurance
what happens a lot is in
verification.
dental offices, they and oh, Howard, it's been a long time since we had you on the program. We got to have you. You're so much fun. Oh, I miss Howard. You're the best guest. You're so much fun. The often I was talking to dentists recently. We did a leadership retreat in Fort Lauderdale. It was a lot of fun, and one of our dentists was saying, "Well, this person isn't working out, and I'm going to make this position for them." And I'm like, "No, step back. What does my practice need? Define the roles, then see who fits in them. If they doesn't fit, you don't need that person." And often there's so much unnecessary redundancy. And you're right, especially with technology and stuff, whether it's outsourcing insurance or having programming to make it more efficient, there's ways to do that. But Howard, not many people have your mind. I mean, you got blessed with both, being a dentist and great business mind doesn't usually come both ways with respect to that. And as you know, dentists, you know the story of my father, right? They don't, confrontation, and it's a people thing, and they confuse those with running a business. Doesn't mean you have to be heartless. It's just like, does it compute? Does it make sense? Step back. How does the business work? And if somebody isn't appropriate for that position, it doesn't. Then they go. So that's a whole other side of it. I agree with you. It's just, executing on that and realizing. So I guess the advice is understand what you're trying to do. You step back and said, when I look at my company, whether it's Dentaltown or dental business, I say, this is what I actually need to run it profitably. And whoever is like, what do I think about? When you play, what is that, musical chairs? You pull
Yeah.
the chair out, you say, I don't have that chair anymore. So somebody's got to go. It's not fitting in there. You said with Dentaltown, you removed what you don't need and you put in, more efficient. So, yeah. And then kind of bring that to AI, Howard. I mean, this is the nice way of doing it, but you see, when you heard the NVIDIA president and the others talk about, there's a lot of automation that's going to make jobs obsolete. And so that's something as we're seeing it as well, and it happens, and it's going to continue as an accelerating pace. Virtual assistants and others, and so on. So something that we have to be
Well,
mindful of.
it's an old argument that has no merit. I mean, they've been saying this since they came out with the textile mills. I
Yeah.
mean, remember 200 years ago, the King of England, everybody rioted and said, "Get rid of those textile machines because they're killing all
Oh,
these
interesting.
jobs." And the elders of the king were saying, "Well, what kind of country we're going to have if everybody is hand strewing cotton and wool?
Ah,
Are we really going to have a great country if that's what everybody's doing, he goes, let's automate that, and they can go on and do better stuff. I remember when Milton Friedman, when I was in college, India got a new prime minister, and he canceled all the contracts with Caterpillar and all that big equipment. And Caterpillar said, "Well, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Dude, I got 1,400,000,000 people. I got 100 million men that could do this by hand who want a job. Why the hell should I bring over some machine that'll do the job of 50 people?" And
Right.
they didn't know what to do. So they hired Milton Friedman, sent Milton Friedman over there. And Milton Friedman went and met the prime minister.
Oh
And
my God, you're a history buff.
he walked out there and he showed him this big old construction site. And
Sure.
they're all doing it by hand. He goes, "Why should I buy $100,000 Caterpillar to do this in a day?" And he goes, he goes, "Well, if you're right, then let's take away all their shovels and give them spoons."
Hmm.
And the prime minister thought, "Well, that'd be a stupid idea. I mean, it'd take forever." And he goes,
Right,
"When would
right.
you like this highway done? When would you like it done? I bet the people wish it was done a year ago."
I see. So you're saying that we can get so much more
Oh
done.
my God. Number one, you're gonna democratize for the world. Like remember I think
Uh-huh.
it was in '74. LA had a earthquake about 6.4,
Uh-huh.
and no one died. And then Haiti had one the same size, and 250,000 people died. I mean, when those people in Haiti are designing an apartment complex, they can't afford an architectural firm. They can't do all this stuff. If I was gonna design a 40-story apartment complex, I mean, in the old days, I need a firm with 100 architects, and they take 6 months and charge me $1 million to do that. Now a kid can sit down on a computer in Haiti and put in the size of the lot, verified on satellite, already know all about the dirt and the topography, and with the AI, and design that whole building in a day.
You know
And
what's
so,
interesting? I've found with AI, when I first saw it, especially ChatGPT and the questions I asked, it was scary. I was like, oh my goodness. But now, like, I mean, it's like anything else. I say that, but as you go into history, we were scared of other stuff. And I'm like, it's helped me do my job better. You can't just right now, you can't just have AI write an article. You can tell it's kind of it has got to have your soul in it. But I'll tell you something pretty interesting. I'm having conversations like I'll ask it like, okay, for example, I say here are the parameters of what I want to invest in, what's good for me. Or I was upset about this, and it could read empathy and all, and it's actually there's a lot of I don't know we kind of adapt to it, right? And it's amazing you, Howard, how progressive you are with this and open. Considering as one gets older, they get more nervous with respect to that. So you're pretty bullish or optimistic about the benefits to mankind of AI,
oh,
much like your
absolutely.
caterpillar example. That it's not going to be people are going to have nothing. It's like we can then focus because I look at like especially for me to have to summarize a meeting and go through a video. Remember, we had to go through a video, put the highlights, the time codes. AI does it in 20 seconds. That's not a good use of our time. We can be innovating, serving, helping other people, doing something else with our brain. It's not a good use of it. So it's pretty interesting how that goes. So you're
Other
pretty
in
confident.
dental school, the dental students are telling me that they just open up an AI app, they record the whole the whole
The
lecture. That
lecture.
at the end they say, "Give me the notes," and then they say, "Summarize it to 600 words." Or 10 points, or just what were the takeaways of today? But in the gym where I work out at EOS, there's three young lawyers that
Hmm.
one's still in. And anyway, they're all like 25 and under and everything, and they've been asking me for advice on what to do because they're working with some old codger like my age. And in fact, one girl said, "Well, he's old. I mean, he's not as old as you, but he's old." That
Well, thank
hurt.
you. It
Yeah,
was a
thank you for
it
that
was a
compliment.
there was I heard this comedian say it's like when you get to a certain age, they start saying you look good for your age,
Yeah.
and it's like what's that supposed to mean? Why not
Well,
just you look
I
good?
have been adding 10 years to my birthday. If someone says the birthday, they say, "How old are you?" Like when I just turned 62, I said 72. Because if I say 62, they go, "Ah." If I say 72, they go, "Damn,
You
you
look
look
good.
good for 72." So,
Wow.
But anyway, this lawyer is telling me that a case will come in, and she sits in on the console. This old man sitting there, he's got all these books behind there, and he does this hour consultation and everything. And she says when she does the consultation, she opens up her AI, and she's taking notes, and it's pulling up all the statutes, and that in 30 minutes her entire case is done. And so it's the people with AI are going to do, you're not going to get rid of accountants, but like I had a 4-person accounting team. I only needed one. I had 4 people that programmed from 25 years ago, and they have no idea what Python programming is. They don't understand any of it. You just, everybody on the team went to college and got a degree in it or a master's degree in it. And I go into a lot of big groups. I'll go into big groups and I'll go up front, and it's like, man, they have like 6 ladies working up front, the front desk,
Yeah.
and there's like 14 chairs. And it's like, and I start asking the payroll and the salaries. And it's like, man, everybody's making like 60 to 80. The office
Yes.
managers
Yes.
over 100. And every
Nuts.
2 of them employees, if every 2 of them employees was condensed into one Python programmer, the whole job would be automated. They'd rebuild it from scratch. I mean, oh my God, they just look at all these processes. I cannot tell you, like say, I've gone from 32 employees with no Python programmers to now 22 employees where 10 of them are Python
Hey
programmers.
Howard, let me ask you because you were talking about the what is he called, the prophet of Omaha,
The
Buffett.
Oracle of Omaha, Warren
Oracle.
Buffett,
So
and the late
so
Charlie
you,
Munger.
what was the you said you met him, you weren't impressed, but then he said something that did hold true. What was that you ended up deploying from Buffett?
I just think it was those annual meetings every year. Everybody goes to Omaha, and it'd be 4-hour meeting, a 6-hour meeting, and it always be on YouTube or TV or whatever. And I get the notes of those things back before the internet, and it was just always profound, just always profound stuff, just always profound. Simplifying the business, making it simple. Do you understand it? Is it in your circle of competence?
Circle of
Like
competence.
you're really good in law. I'm really good in business. I mean dentistry. We're both good in business, but neither of us know shit about Python programming,
Sure.
electrical engineering. We're not carpenters. And you staying in your circle
You
of
stay in
competence.
your lane. What are
Yeah.
you, because I saw on some of your podcasts you talk about investing. What is your advice to dentists? And again, like I said today, considering what happened with the S&P and some of the semiconductor area, what is I really like a lot of stuff that Buffett talks about. What do you advise people?
Well, like Warren Buffett, when he had his ex-wife thing too, and he put all of her money into an index fund. I mean, the
Yeah,
guy, he thinks that unless you're a Warren Buffett or a Charlie Munger, I mean, that index fund's going to beat 80%.
he
All mine are in index
he
funds. They're all
does.
in S&P 500 index funds. Now, I have my play money. It's just fun to bet on a Super Bowl. It's fun to bet on a
Uh,
stock. So you got play stuff just because it's fun to check them and all that kind of stuff. Just like I retired. When the pandemic came, I was on this lecturing rat wheel where, I was gone 3 out of 4 weekends for 3 decades. I mean,
wow.
and I knew I could never get off that thing, but I hated the travel. It's fun to go to all those countries the first time, the second time, the third time, but it's not fun to go to Warsaw, Poland for the 5th freaking time. I mean, you've seen it, you've done it, you've seen the Chopin Museum, you know all that stuff. But it's just a tough lifestyle. And so I got off that thing, and then we had to close down the office for COVID. And I just said, you know what, I'm 60. I was 59 at the time. I said, I'm just going to sell this thing. I wouldn't sell it to a DSO. I just don't believe in that. I don't want my 8 grandchildren going into an office where in the morning they're having a pep rally that every MOD filling is a crown opportunity.
You were still doing dentistry all the way to then?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I cut back a lot. I'd fill in when people are sick,
Really?
but yeah, and you have the patients that complain they only
Oh,
want to see me, and I'm a really good-looking guy. If you're like 85-year-old widow, and I've noticed that if that woman is 13 years older than you, and
oh
she's like,
man.
you are the hottest man in town.
Wow.
She wants a hug and a kiss, and I mean, you can tell she's melting in your arms. But yeah, I did it till the end. But the thing is, I lost my train of thought of where I was going with that is,
Well, you're talking about you were talking about selling the practice. You don't want to go to Warsaw.
oh yeah, yeah. That I quit lecturing and I sold my practice and I retired, and it was great. It was so great for a while because my mom needed me to go live with her for a
But
couple
weren't
months.
you still running Dentaltown?
Yeah, yeah. I was still running Dentaltown, but I could run Dentaltown from an iPhone. I mean, I don't,
Ah, okay.
yeah, it's not like a dentistry where you got to be an appointment or a lecture. You got to be standing somewhere. Like I lectured in Milwaukee, the last Friday, and I quit lecturing, but it was an old friend and named Ross, and loved him to death. And he's like, "No, you got it." Anyway, he talked me into it. And then a month ago, before that, I did Mobile, Alabama, but I swore I'll never do it again. And but I've done it twice since I said I swore I'd never do it again, and I'm still sticking to it. I swear I'm never going to do it again. Because now with the technology, we're about to relaunch Downtown. We've rewritten the entire thing from the ground up, but you'll be able to have like your podcast. You'll be able to film your podcast on Dentaltown, but it'll be on the calendar, so it'll say, "Well, Alex is doing his podcast on Monday at two
And by
o'clock."
the way, we always post our podcasts to Dentaltown, as you
I
said.
know, but
Yep.
now, and thank you so much for that. But now you be able to film it and a whole closed system on
Oh,
Dentaltown, but it'll
wow.
be on the calendar, so you'll be filming it in front of a live audience. And then if you want to take someone's question, all they got to do is hit the phone
So
icon.
so let
So
me
they
ask
can,
you let me ask you this, Howard. I mean, just for curiosity in our listeners, because we all know Howard. What's life like for Howard now? I mean, what is your life like? I mean, what do you enjoy? Tell me about like you in dental. You're talking about Dentaltown. What's a day in the life of Howard Farran? What enjoying what you built.
well, basically, when I wake up, I have to. The minute I wake up, I put on my shoes and I do 6 miles of road work to the gym, and then I do either weightlifting or jujitsu there's an MMA gym,
Really?
and or the weightlifting, and it just really makes me. I mean, at my age of 62, when I wake up, my back's cranky. I mean, and then people say, "Well, do you get up and go for a run?" It's like, dude, you're not 62. When I get up, I have to walk a mile just for all my joints quit clicking and popping and cracking, but so sometimes sometimes I'm so lazy it's just a walk. It's just a gingerly 6 mile walk to the gym.
Wow.
Sometimes I run the whole damn thing. Sometimes I jog. Sometimes I'll do a block of lunges and leg
Oh
lunges,
my
and
gosh.
but I go there and I like the gym, and I get there the same time every day. So a bunch of friends at the gym, and then when I come home, I eat and shower and get dressed, and I come here to work. Now, when I retired, I spent several years, and it was really fun. I mean, I would go live in. I got 4 boys and 8 grandkids, and I would go live. I would just go to one of their houses and live there for like a month, and then I go to the
Wow.
next one for a month, the next one a month, and my mom, and then well, it's kind of weird because a lot of people when they retire, they go, "What do you want to do?" They say, "I want to travel the world." Dude, I traveled the world for 30 freaking years, and getting in an airplane. I mean, some of those flights you couldn't even comprehend. Like
They're
some of
terrible.
them, and 3 of my boys went with me on this one, so they can vouch for it. Ryan can vouch for it. And in fact, I just did a podcast for him in Cambodia a couple of weeks ago. We left our house in Phoenix. We flew to San Francisco, and then I think we flew to Tokyo, and then we went to Hong Kong, and then Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and then a connecting flight to Cambodia. And from walking out of our house to walking into our hotel room was 36 hours. 36 hours. I think the layover in Tokyo was like 9 hours. I mean, it just,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
just, and now I'll be able to get on Dentaltown and do like Reddit does. So what we've done is we gone through the social media sites. We got the best of TikTok and Instagram. See, like if you did a video on Instagram or TikTok, well, if you went to Dentaltown and dropped it, where are you going to drop? You have to find a thread, you drop it in there, and then all those old crazy people would say, "Oh, you're self promotion and you're selling all that bullshit." Where you don't have self promotion on TikTok and Instagram because everything is self promotion. Why, if you open your mouth, you're promoting the world according to Alex. Everything is self promotion, but it's the formats, and people are finicky. And now we'll have a tooth watch. Instead of Tooth Talk or TikTok, it'll be Tooth Watch and the video. But the video you can comment on, you can share. And then the other thing is like say you drop a video in like if I make a little video and I drop it out, I got to drop it in Dentaltown, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. I
Right.
mean, that takes a long time. Now you just drop it into Dentaltown, and then you set your links of where else you want it, and
And it'll all post there. Wow.
it'll even post it into iTunes, whatever you need.
That's
And
amazing.
then, but here's what's really cool is what started me on this whole deal was when my son kept, Ryan, he had a master's in a seat in computer science. He kept telling me, Dad, this is like 2 years ago, download ChatGPT. I will, and I never did it. Then my other son, Greg, he did it. He fell in love with it. And Ryan, all the boys fell in love with it. I was the last one. And man, I finally got religion. It reminds me of '94 when Amazon went public. I had no idea why everybody was all excited about the stock. And then AOL came out, and I thought that was the dumbest, most annoying thing ever. And then, but I kept watching that Amazon stock go up, and more and more people getting AOL, and finally I went to the Barnes and Noble back when they still were alive, and I said, "Do you have any books on this internet thing?" And they said, "Yeah, we have 4 books on the internet." So I bought all 4 of those books. I got through about the 3rd one when I finally realized, oh my God, if I could use the internet, I could post an X-ray, wondering why is this tooth still hurting. I could post an X-ray and talk to other dentists. I mean, I was so professionally lonely and isolated because you couldn't ask your dental assistant, your hygienist, and your mom and your dad. Everybody that loved you couldn't help you. And then with Dentaltown, the scale was amazing. I mean, I remember one of the weirdest cases I ever posted. Thought, what would you do with this? And it was in some Australian dentist had seen the case 10 years later, treated with ortho and this and that, and showed the whole finished case. And I thought, God, this isn't a 1 in a million case. This is a 1 in a country case. I mean, 22 million people in Australia. And I bet that she was the only one that had these upside down bicuspids. And I mean, just crazy shit. And so now what I want to do is look at Open Dental. So here's what I realized when I got religion. I got religion on social media, just with dentaltown.com. No dentist would ever have to practice solo again. And that was priceless for a solo dentist to go throw up an X-ray and say, "Help! What the hell would you do?" And we learned all through that whole social media. That was 25 years. Well, now I realize that God, Dentaltown. I've had Farran Report, Dentaltown, Hygienetown, Orthotown magazines for 25 years, gazillion articles. Dentaltown had 7 million questions posted with answers. I did 1,600 podcasts with transcripts.
Wow.
I called up PubMed, and they had 70,000 articles. And you say, well, can we download all those 70,000? And they say no. So we hacked into that and downloaded all 70,000 dental articles. And then I have that. And then we crunched it in a very expensive large language model, big brand name, where if I did it today, I could do it for free on the Chinese DeepSeek. I could do it for free. I spent a bunch of money, trained all that data, and then I started testing it. And I started asking questions. And it's like, I couldn't believe it. And then I'd ask it on ChatGPT, and it wouldn't be as good. And the reason why is they're everything. So if I say Mary had a little
Bam.
See, that's the only way that thing works.
Right. It's not customized to, and what's
maybe
interesting.
In dentistry,
Check this out, Howard. Another step I saw was interesting, and they even have these out now. It's expensive. Eventually, it might be free. The Chinese might have started that. Is you, Howard, can program an AI that is you. So one day when you move on, Howard will still exist. All of his stuff will be in that AI model that you program. So all your quirks and excitement, everything. Hey, Howard, and I could even have you back on the podcast. Let's book Howard's AI onto the podcast.
Well, they're already making a deep fake where when you get the Dentaltown magazine on your app, you could have it read to you and you could pick the voice. So I mean, you could have Howard read it. Anybody that wants to fill out the voice who do a deep fake on that. But it's amazing. But back to Mary had a little lamb. Everybody says Mary had a little lamb. Well, maybe in dentistry, maybe Mary has a little root tip. Maybe she has a little fracture. Maybe she has and when it's just all dental, it appears to me they're answering. I'm a dentist and I'm asking a question, and it feels like a specialist is answering me.
That's nuts.
And then I go drop that question ChatGPT, and it looks like it's kind of diluted down to a more like someone writing a paper in school on like
True.
root canals or things like
Well,
that.
the AI is only what you feed it. I mean,
Yeah.
when it's funny, it was so good its responses. I said, how do you, how is it that you know this stuff? Like, for example, I was asking it about like an injury, and like I couldn't figure out like there's so many variables, and you go to a specialist and they only know their thing. But I put all the parameters, and it was able to pull this together in a very creative way that nobody else could do. And I was like, how do you know that? And it will tell me, well, I searched this, and it's programmed. It has certain ways of information it has, so it's only as good as what it's fed and what it can grab into and the logic of how to do it. So makes a lot of sense that you're building one for dental because it's going to be much more specific and have what it needs to be able to create.
And I can't believe when I go to my physicians, I don't even ask them questions anymore. I just tease them. I say, Doc, I'm not even going to ask you the question because I know you don't use AI. But I asked them the other day, my physician wanted to start me on my second prescription medicine. He wanted to start me on a statin, and I'm on thyroid. And I said, well, is there any side effects or anything with thyroid?
Oh,
He goes,
no,
I
no,
don't.
no, no.
He goes, I
Probably they
don't
say.
think so. Well, I said, well, did you ask ChatGPT? I asked ChatGPT. I was at the urologist, and he was doing the 60-year-old prostate check and all this kind of stuff. And he said my PSA number, and he said he wanted me to do this 4,000x blood test, test all these parameters for it and everything. I said, well, do you think I should take an X-ray or anything? And he said, oh, you could if you want. I don't really advise it. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, I'm a 62-year-old man. Here's my PSA, blah, blah. I told him everything. Do you think I should have an x-ray? And it said, well, no, I wouldn't take an x-ray, a two-dimensional x-ray, but I would definitely take an MRI. Definitely. And the MRI could find blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, okay, you want an MRI? So he signed an MRI deal. And it's like, he wouldn't even suggest a chat on Dentaltown. On Dentaltown, there was a crazy ass story. I think it's by Stephen Glass, a dentist out of Texas, and he had some illness, something going on, and everything. And he asked doctors, "Is there any way this could be related to my index finger? Because my index finger's been sore, blah blah blah." And he goes, "No, no, no."
No.
And so he asked ChatGPT, and that was absolutely one of the things on the criteria is that your index
And you know
finger.
what's nice? You know what's nice about ChatGPT? I didn't like in the past. There was always artificial intelligence for years. See, that's the other thing we don't realize. Artificial intelligence has been around for a while. In terms of even Google and the algorithms. And so when you would type in, it would find articles that were statistically relevant to that. Unfortunately, those articles are biased in one dimension. Now, the ChatGPT can take multiple articles, multiple research, run it through reasoning, take different perspectives, and give you a more thorough, not one, because you go to one doctor or one specialist, they have one view. You pull it all together, you get a more comprehensive view. So, I mean, look, Howard, I mean, this is phenomenal. We're talking about AI, and we could probably go on
Well,
for a while.
let me tell
All
you
right,
one.
you're going to give you. I'm going to give you the last call on this because we're double our normal podcast, so people are going to listen because it's Howard Farran. Go ahead, tell
Hey,
me.
well, those two bald beauties that they think they're on Pornhub right now. They don't even know.
Well, that
But
yeah.
check this out. Check this out. So these big dental companies, they always invite me over the years with key
Uh-huh.
influencers and things like that. I remember going to Dentrix meetings, and I remember going to Eaglesoft and Effingham, and they always want to present to you, their programming for the year because they want us to go out and push it, endorse it, use it. And I was up in Provo, Utah, at a Dentrix deal, and he starts telling about all the new reports they run, and I couldn't help it. I finally raised my hand because I'm looking around the room. I know these people, and I said, they're like, okay, guys, what percent of the reports, when you go into a dental office, you go to the report generator, what percent of the reports have never been ran one time ever in the history of that dental office? And everybody agreed it's about 85%. So I said, every year, you program a bunch more reports, a bunch more shit. I'm telling you that when you check in at Marriott and you return your Hertz rental car, it's just the core functions. And all you do is add all this layers of bullshit and complexity to where nobody knows what they're doing and they can't even get the basics done. But look at Open Dental. Look at now. So I looked at accounting because some people have, so I looked at accounting. And if you go back to my 30-day dental MBA, I've been talking about this for 25 years. I said, well, if all your knowledge is if half of it's in QuickBooks Pro and half of it's in Dentrix, Eaglesoft, or Open Dental, you're a bipolar schizophrenic. I mean, none of this stuff talks, and the reports are intuitive. Well, our AI right now we're hooking them together. So instead of looking for a report, I got a little widget where I just hit that widget and, oh, I need my Face ID. And then ChatGPT comes up and I say hi to Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex. And now you would just open that up, and the Dentaltown app, if you connected it to your Open Dental and you connected it to your QuickBook Accounting, you could say, "What's my overhead?" And it would tell you. No
Wow.
report. Then you could say, "How many PPOs do I take?" And it says, "Oh, you take 14 PPOs." Am I making money off all? I mean, so that's the intuitive thing. They don't know how to get into a report generator on Dentrix and run the relevant deal. And they could be asking, "Is there anything I should do before I leave the office tonight?" Yes. Make sure that every X-ray taken by the hygienist and dental assistants was entered and billed for. I know so many practice management consultants say they never even cost their dentist a dime because as a courtesy when they were there, they would do an exit interview on the day's charts, and they'd usually find a PA and a bite wing 3 or 4 times, a set of bite wings, sometimes an FMX that weren't even entered and billed, and just making sure that everything that could be billed was done, paid for their daily wages. Most people say they can get, most consultants say they can find $250 guaranteed, sometimes $1,000 a day if it's a big group practice. But I just think that, my passion right now, you said, what would I do retirement? I did the retirement thing. I quit working, I quit lecturing, and I spent 3 or 4 years hounding my 8 grandchildren. But I started to get bored. And then I found this AI thing, and oh my God, it's just like I came right out of retirement. I came right back to work. And my job is that the dentist has to wear way too many hats. And he's got to be a CEO, an accountant, business, finance, law, and the specialists are lucky. Could you imagine only having to learn one thing? You know how
Yeah.
nice that is?
I
But it just,
remember my dad's office. He would have an endodontist come in, everything set up for you. You get paid, you're out, like all done.
oh
No,
yeah.
no overhead, nothing.
And that's why I tell every general dentist, please specialize. Your life is so much easier if you get rid of 90% of everything you need to know and just
True.
focus on one damn thing. And my general dentist, she has to focus on so many things, wear so many hats. And my job is I'm going to take AI and make it so she can do everything faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and scalable. And I'm going to give that girl the tools she needs to run that office and land it on a dime.
Howard, most important, I'm going to end with this question. How do you have all this energy for decades?
It's the bald head. You got it too.
I have
You
it.
got
I
it.
have to
You got a
get in
ton of
touch
energy too.
with the energy. It's that 6 mile walk you do every day. But hey, we talked about this in the green room, but you are definitely the in a good connotation, the Joe Rogan of dentistry. You got the look, you got the muscles, and certainly street cred. It's such an honor to have you back, Howard, and I hope to have you more on our program. And I mean, everybody knows where to find you, dentaltown.com and all over social media and all over AI. Thank you for being on the program. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Alex, thank you for all that you've done for Dentaltown and dentistry. And thanks for always loading your podcast up there. And I hope come April that you film a podcast live on Dentaltown in front of a group audience to be able to take questions and their video can pop up and asking videos. And then when
I
you're
gotta
done, and it's
listen. I
going to
do
be
what you tell me. I gotta check it out.
okay.
And of course, for those listening, you'll follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and of course, Dentaltown. We're there as well. Get the episodes as they're released. Share with your friends. And until next time, go out there and be an all-star.